Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this wonderful Wednesday. Sun shining outside, and yeah, it's looking pretty bright out there, so it always helps, I think, if you've got a nice sunny day. So thank you for joining us. Looking at the list of people who are coming on, we've got, again, quite a few new people coming on, but thankfully some of you have been with us since the start. Thank you for that. It's not everybody that can put up with me for all these many days, but never mind. Good, it's lovely to have you with us. And as our special guest today, we have Claire Allen. Good afternoon, Claire.
Hello, Gary, and everybody out there.
Great. Well, it's nice to see you. Claire actually turned up about 2 minutes ago, and we were beginning to panic whether or not we'd actually confirm this, but we have, so it's great to have you with us. For those of you who don't know Claire, she was formerly Claire Packham, recently married. How long ago?
Almost a year. Yes, almost a year. I know. I'll be celebrating my anniversary next month. Yeah, in isolation, obviously. Not as I
thought it was a couple of months, and they said it wouldn't last. Anyway, good. That's good. Yeah. And Claire is one of our. Well, she was our rising star, but I think she's definitely in the firmament now. Anyway, so she many years ago when we first met Claire, she had a partner. And she and the partner decided that they were having a great time together, but one partner was happy where they were. Claire saw stars, wanted to fly off and rule the world and various other things. So the partnership separated. Glad to say that the other half of the partnership is still with us, still in membership. And Claire decided to go off and take over bookkeeping, organisation companies. And I think that probably if you tell them a little bit about what you've done, it'll stop me exaggerating or missing it or getting it wrong.
Thank you for that. Yes, wildly exaggerating my career. Yeah, so I had a very successful partnership with another lady. We set up a practice, gosh, about a long time ago, 20 odd years ago, and we ran that practice for about 10 years, and it was really successful. But we got to a point in our careers where I think we both wanted different things. You know, I wanted to sort of move on, perhaps build the practice a bit more and get into different areas. So yeah, we split the practice. I had my own client base anyway. I took some staff with me, and I set up Team 4 Solutions, and that was 9 years ago now. Yeah, we've continued to grow. We've got 15 members of staff now. We're based in East Sussex, but we work with clients all over the southeast, really. Yes, and there's been a lot of challenges in that time.
None more so than the present challenge.
Quite right. Yes. Yeah. This is totally unprecedented. It wasn't expected, obviously, and it's sideswiped us completely. But it's something else we have to deal with, isn't it? Something else we have to be learn to be agile with, I guess, and learn to cope with.
Yeah. I mean, year before last, I think it was, we started the COPE program, which was a continuation of practice engagement, wasn't it? COPE agreement. That was right. And we talked about things that might go wrong in a practice and when you might need help from another person. Yeah, we didn't anticipate this being the sort of help that was required, and certainly not everybody needing it at the same time, which is a real shock. So whilst COPE has worked for some people who've been ill or got pregnant or got divorced or remarried, married, whatever it might be, and they need that bit of downtime, and they've been able to work with their partner through COPE and make sure that the business continues. Yeah, this has come as a surprise to everybody. And I mean, we're getting more surprises every day, I think, because we're still not sure how long this is going to take. But I think that one thing that I take from everything that's being said at the moment is that we've got to be positive as we come out of this. So whether that's in 3 weeks, 3 months' time, or whatever, businesses have got to get back on their feet because they need that to survive. They need to move forward. And I think the one thing that is coming across time and time again is that bookkeepers are still being engaged by their clients because they're necessary to their existence, if I can put it as strongly as that, but certainly to their feeling of being able to continue. Are you finding this with your clients?
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, we are completely supporting our clients through this, whether or not they're trading. We're talking to them regularly. We've actually taken on 3 new clients actually within this time, strangely. But so business is still going on. People still need our support. Business owners really need our support, you know, more so than accountants, I think. We talked about it all week, really, and last week, in that we are their right-hand person. We are their go-to person, generally, the bookkeepers, because we have such great relationships with our clients. It's us they turn to for support. So even if they're not trading, we're still talking to them, still keeping in touch.
Yeah, we get lots of stories of our members, everything from You told a story a little while back. Did you put the washing on, or you did something or other for a client, or put something in? I don't know. You did something.
Wash the underpants, probably. Yes, that's one of my staff. Went down the laundrette for.
And we've got people who walk dogs and everything. But actually, that's very much in the minority. I mean, the whole point is really of bookkeepers. And I think in the last 25 years that we've been in existence, and how, you know, you're saying yours is 20 years plus since you started, I think the whole professionalism of bookkeepers has dramatically improved. I mean, we are in a completely different place now to when you were in Uckfield 20 odd years ago when we first came out to see you.
Absolutely, yes, yes, it has, and it has changed enormously. I mean, I think when I first set up on my own, I don't think professional bookkeeper was a thing. I don't think it existed, and that's evolved and grown and developed over the years. I mean, it helps having ICB, a professional organisation, behind us actually, to push that professionalism, actually to make people realise that bookkeeping is a profession in its own right. It's not just a tag on to accountancy, and we are professionals. We have a particular skill set, skill levels. We are, all wanting to achieve the best for our clients, the best that we can do, and having a whole exam process behind us and everything really cements that, if you like.
Yeah, I think the exams are important. I mean, I think as an organisation, we could have probably been 4 times the size we are now if we'd have said, well, anybody can come in if you can spell bookkeeper, rather than have to take an exam. But the surprising thing is, I think that, I suppose it shouldn't be surprising, but the thing I found gratifying is that of the members that we've got, if you say there are more exams available, they jump at them. They're very keen to be judged as being the best. And I think this is great. And I think in the past, where we've had people who are a little bit belligerent about it all, we've lost them over the years. They've peeled off and gone somewhere else because they couldn't keep up with the professionalism. They didn't see it as their way. And that's fair enough. They've learned a bit from us along the way. But I think it's important that we only retain those people who are totally committed to this as a profession and to the high standards that we always try to maintain.
Well, quite right as well. I mean, we have a lot of compliance we have to adhere to these days, so we need the support of a really professional organisation behind us and to help us, train us, show us the way, really. So
well, it gets a bit annoying sometimes when we're pestering you to make sure you've got your due diligence done and your money laundering in place. I appreciate that. But I think there's good reasons for it. It's only by playing with the big boys that we can ever, be appreciated fully for what we do. And I think that has been important. We've really pushed ourselves forward, and we've upset a few people on the way, obviously. But that's been interesting. So obviously, during this time, you must have either lost or had a client that's gone into sort of hibernation for a while. It can't be all plain sailing.
No, definitely not. No, I mean, clients leave our service or disengage for all sorts of different reasons. Some of them just grow too big really to need our services, and they have their own in-house accounts department, so they move away from us. Others, I don't know, it's all sorts of different reasons. Yeah, they may misunderstand actually what it is they expect from us, as bookkeepers. We don't wash their underpants and take them to the laundrette, or we don't, do their ironing for them, things like that. I think there's a cute, well, certainly maybe not so much these days because we have quite specified engagement letters and all that kind of thing. We have all that support around us, but in the early days we didn't have any of that. We were, just finding our way in the dark, if you like. So yeah, there was a lot of clients either don't understand what a bookkeeper does, and that is a big issue. That is, I find, a big particular problem. That's where dissatisfaction can arise, because they just don't know the difference between a bookkeeper and an accountant. They don't understand what the different roles are and what to expect from us. But that's down to us, really. We as bookkeepers need to make that very clear to our clients, and be very, very specific about what it is we do for them. And that, if you do that, if you get the terms right with the client and spell things out for them, then you don't have these problems crop up. And communication is key. Communication every step of the way. Not even just at the beginning, but constantly through your relationship with that client is communicating well.
I mentioned one of your ideas in my article that I wrote in the newsletter that came out last week, this idea of actually having a Zoom meeting like this, but actually with your clients all together, so they can all have a chat with each other. I mean, in my days, we were always told, never let your clients meet each other because they'll discuss prices and they'll discuss all sorts of things. You've knocked that one completely on the head and it's been very successful.
Well, yeah, it's yes, I haven't allowed them to discuss prices, I'll have you know, but clearly we've kept them at arm's length on that respect. But yeah, we've yeah, I mean, at the beginning of all this, I've got about 100 and I don't know 50 plus clients, and to start with, I was just fielding phone calls from clients. You know, what's furlough? How do we get through this? Where do we get grants? All the rest of it, which is impossible. I can't speak to all my clients every day and just make them feel loved and looked after. So I actually went on another webinar with another completely different company who was doing a similar thing, and I sparked an idea in my mind that maybe that was a way to engage with our clients, sort of help them or impart information to them without having to speak to them all individually, and allow them to ask questions. So we do it in a very similar format that you've got here. We have about, I think we usually have about 50 attendees, which is pretty good, I think, actually, for our little business.
Yeah.
It's pretty good, and it's we allow them to ask questions via the chat, which is good, so we can manage it. What I do is have a panel similar to this, so I invite another consultant along to be on the panel. So we've had an accountant, we've had an HR professional. We're only doing this weekly, we're not doing it daily, but I've got a funding expert coming to talk to us on Friday. So we'll be looking at the government, loans and so on, whether how on earth clients can actually access those. Obviously, there's a little angle on this. It's all nice PR, but obviously we want people to know what we do and that we exist. So we'll be talking about the kind of information that clients need to have or businesses need to have going into try and apply for a loan. So we'll be looking at management accounts, cash flows, forecasts, that kind of thing, which comes back to us, obviously, as the experts. But it's been a fantastic experience, and the feedback I've had from our clients and other people that have been involved has been really good. So if nothing else, it's been a superb PR exercise, and allowed us not just to get to our clients. Actually, we've opened it up slightly to other local businesses where so we've had the local chamber chairman has been involved. We've got him involved, so he's now promoting what we're doing, so we can ask other people in. So hopefully we'll spread the word and maybe gain some new clients from it, or just a bit more marketing, really, and a bit more PR. So it's been a good exercise.
Yeah, I think it's just a question of being creative. We can't just sit around, and we've got to remember that clients are the same as us, basically. You are a business, you have clients, your client is a business, they have clients, and they need to feel that life is continuing on. I don't know how many of your clients are actually furloughed or locked away in their homes. Obviously, as an institute, we're all locked away in our homes individually now, and although we're managing to run the institute almost as if it's live, because nobody can actually tell when they ring in that we're not in the office, it has its challenges. And I think the one I'm finding is meetings. When you've got somebody next door to you or sitting in the seat next to you, you can reach across and you can ask them something. Whereas now, if you rely on an email, I'm learning very rapidly that what I put in an email isn't necessarily what anybody will read out of it when it comes to them at the other end. So I think it's a whole new learning curve, really, as to how to communicate these things.
Well, for me, I think it's been a really exciting development, getting onto this whole Zoom and Skype. I used Skypes in a small way previously, but this Zoom thing is fantastic. It's a great way to have meetings with numerous people. I mean, we're doing it with my family every week now. I've got family that live all over the world, in the States and France and so on. And we all get together and do quizzes and bingo and just chat to each other every Sunday night. It's a sort of standing thing with us now. And even after we all go back to normal, I anticipate us still doing that. And also for me with my client meetings, whilst we're doing it weekly at the moment, I would like to think that would continue maybe on a monthly basis, where we can give our clients, updates, information of new government schemes or whatever's happening in the bookkeeping and accountancy world. We can actually, it's a great way of informing people and being able to discuss things with them without just having a dry email that's too easy to park and not read. I will read that later and never get around to it. so it's a fantastic, I think it's a really good way of engaging with clients and, you know, other people. And I hope it continues, because I think it's a really good thing.
Yeah, I think it will. I mean, there are going to be big changes. I think people will change a lot. I think many of us will slip back into the old routines, but those of us who have found something very successful or very useful to us, I think if we can hang on to those, some good at least will come out of all of this. I think that's good. I mean, my wife, June, and I, before we set up the Institute, we ran a publishing company which was for internal publications. So it would be companies producing a magazine or a newspaper for their employees, and then that turned into publications for their suppliers, very much like you're doing. And we used to produce monthly, quarterly magazines with stories about the main key management, what they were doing, who they were, where they were from. Then we featured one or two of the clients. So this is something that I'm quite used to doing, albeit I think probably it's helped to bring this back to the memory and think, yeah, well, we've always done that. We should now do that even more here. So I'm quite enjoying this. I get this hour and a half does get a lot of people tuning in, so that's great. And we've said that we will continue until people vote with their feet and don't bother coming on, which thankfully it hasn't happened yet. But we are reaching far more people than we've ever reached before. Now, you've got a very successful branch, and I know you have done one of the new virtual branch meetings. We're seeing the numbers, in some cases, almost doubling. So this, again, I think, is something coming out of this current problem. It's something which means that we are far more in touch than ever before.
Yes, totally agree with that. Yeah, and there's so many ways we can utilize this kind of new technology as well, isn't it? I mean, I was thinking of ways of of keeping in touch with my staff, not just my clients. I mean, we've been thinking of newsletters, or how do we do this? Do we sell MailChimps? Do we send, you know, emails? And people just don't read them, do they? But this is so much more interactive. It's and I think easy for people to ask questions or get involved with and feel they're part of it. So yeah, it's a whole new world, and I'm very excited about it. Like you, I really enjoy this way of communicating. It's
yeah. Well, I'm hoping that some people might volunteer to come onto this program and say hello. At the moment, most of you have been had your arms twisted to get you on here. Not literally, obviously, but I think we need to get some new members, perhaps a couple of students coming on here as well. So if there's anybody out there who wants to volunteer themselves for this, please send us a message, either through the website or through the Facebook group if you're on that. If you're not on the Facebook group, that's another way of communicating, which is absolutely going through the roof at the moment. We've got an ICB members page, and we've also got an ICB students page. And then each of the individual branches also have their own branch page. So that means that you can communicate locally, then you can communicate nationally. And it's good to see what's going on across the country sometimes, but then other times you want to know what's happening just down the street from you, or around the corner, or just the other side of the river, or whatever it might be. And I think we're pushing all angles of this new communication fever that we have at the moment, and everybody seems to be buying into it very well, and the very, very strong comments are coming back. So thank you all very much for that. If you do have suggestions of anything you'd like to cover or anything like that, just please tell us. And if you want us to do something different, we're always open to new ideas. This came about with very little notice because we suddenly thought we needed to communicate. So we're just doing this as we started out, but we're trying to get more people involved. And whilst we're talking about that, tomorrow we've got Julia from Sage coming back again. She's going to tell us the latest update about how her ICB members that she deals with through Sage, what they're finding, how they're working with them, any new products they're coming up with. Next week, we've actually also got Caroline Plum coming back. And Caroline, those of you who remember who came to conference, she was one of our guest speakers on the main stage from Fluidly, and she's coming back to talk about cash flow, and I'll bring up something about that in a moment. We've also got some people coming in from QuickBooks, and I understand that Garry Turner from Xero is also going to come on. I mean, I have spoken to him a couple of times, but every time I try to get hold of him, I'm told he's out in the middle of the garden somewhere, which apparently from where he lives is where he gets the best coverage on his internet or something. So he may be coming from the field, but who knows? But anyway, so we'll see how that goes. One other thing I would be interested, whilst everybody who's listening, whilst you're on, if you can drop us a note, are you actually providing a lot of cash flow forecasting at the moment? Is this something that your clients need? If it is, what software are you using? I'd be really keen to know, are you using software, or are you relying on just a spreadsheet or something like that? How are you doing this? We will be sending out a questionnaire at some stage. Our annual questionnaire has been put back a little bit because you're getting a bit bombarded at the moment with virtual meetings for this, virtual meetings for branches, and of course the Inspire tour, which is coming up very shortly. But if you can let me know, how about you, Claire? How are you finding that you're doing a lot more cash flows, or is it's a standard thing for you?
Well, firstly, I'd like to say I'd like to know what software people are using for cash flow, because we just have manual systems. I find most of our clients are all very different, and they want different things out of a cash flow, I find. So we have to kind of just work around our clients. So generally we end up doing them on spreadsheets, but I would like, if anybody has a really good automated system that they know of, I'd love to know that too. Yes, people are asking much more for cash flows right through at the moment. Some of them just saying, you know, for the next 3 months, I want to know what my minimal spend can be so I can survive this. What don't I have to spend out? That kind of thing. What are my overheads going to be? What are my fixed costs that I need to meet? And what income do I need to realise that? But also now with the new loan schemes being available, cash flow is one of the criteria that you'll need to produce if you want to prove that, you know, you're a viable business and that you're worthy of a loan from the institutions. So cash flow, is something we are being asked for. So it'd be nice to know if there was an easy way of doing it, to be honest.
Yeah, the government is being pushed today to make sure these loans are more readily available. I gather the number has doubled since it started, and they are expecting it to double each day for the next week, so that a reasonable number of people will be able to access the loans. However, the big point that they always push, and certainly the banks, because we've been talking to the banks about what's going on, the big thing they're saying is, look, we can't prop up an ailing business. What we have to know is that we're going to help you survive, because this furloughing and everything else has come as a shock to your business. Without this having happened, your business would have been a thriving business. It may be that you haven't got into profit yet, but if you're heading that way, I think that is the main thing. But if you have you got a company that has been making slowly increasing losses, you're not the sort of business which really perhaps warrants government money. Or I think the Chancellor said yesterday, no, it's not government money, it's your money, it's our money, it's tax money. We're all paying for these businesses, so we've got to make sure that the government are handling it properly for us. So when you're working on the loans, Claire, or something like that, you've got a good feeling for a business, perhaps a better feeling than a once-a-year accountant has. So are clients normally happy, or are they want you to sort of boost it a little bit here or tweak it a little bit there?
Goodness me, who do you think I work for, Mr. Carter?
I don't know. I mean, no.
Most of our clients, to be fair, are pretty honest and will want to see a realistic picture, to be honest. Yeah, obviously, if they're going for a loan, they want the best possible picture. And there's nothing wrong in painting the best picture as long as it's not fiction. And you know, projections are a little bit of fiction anyway. They have to be. You know, you're making guesstimates. You're having to look back on the past and make judgments on what's happened in the past, and assuming the business is going to grow in the same way. But yeah, we are. It is quite difficult to do, and you know, we have to also rely a lot on what our clients are telling us about their order book and what they see the future is going to be in 12 months, 2 years, 3 years, or whatever it is. So we have to be fairly, you know, give some varied figures, I suppose, do some different modelling for different circumstances. But I know my clients at the moment, there's 2 or 3 I know have put applications in for the new loan schemes, but they're quite, at the moment, it's been quite difficult for them. It's been quite challenging just because the amount of information the banks are asking for still. luckily, a lot of my clients get management accounts, which is great because we do that for them. And so they're ready, you know, it's quite easy for them to put the figures in and put the figures together. But I imagine for a lot of businesses that don't have regular management figures produced, it's going to be quite a challenge for them to actually pull all this stuff together at very short notice as well. So it might be that us bookkeepers want to put our hands up and say, hello, little businesses out there, if you haven't got management accounts, it's something we can do for you. You know, it's something we can.
Yeah.
We can.
You've mentioned obviously the personal approach that a bookkeeper has, and sometimes that is different to what an accountant would have. And I don't want to keep knocking accountants, and accountants vary across the plane as well. So some will be good, better than others. But one of the things that has come across from some of the clients that have approached us, because we get spoken to by a number of clients about, you know, various things, but one of the things I think they've been saying to us is where they've been given a piece of software and told to get on with it, they haven't been as pleased as those people who've been given a piece of software, but they still get to work very closely with the bookkeeper. And I think that's probably in the minority, but a couple of people have taken, I think, too much advantage from technology and thinking, oh, that's great, I'll let them get on with it, and I'll just sort it all out when they email it to me. But that's almost putting us back then into the realm of the accountant, who's done, you know, I remember doing that for years, where we produced the books, sent it off to the accountant, he sent it back with either a red cross or a green tick on it. Where do you put your split with how you get your clients to provide you with info?
Okay, so we have a massive variety of clients, as you can imagine. We have some quite large clients where we act as an accounts department. So I might have 4 or 5 members of staff working on that one project, you know, on a daily basis. So running the whole accounts department, doing everything from the bookkeeping admin to the bookkeeping to the credit control to the payroll and to management accounts and so on. So that takes the different skill sets within my team. But then we have the smaller ones who really want to do their own bookkeeping. They've got QuickBooks or Xero or whatever it is. They really want to do that, and they're quite capable of doing their day-to-day bookkeeping or producing sales invoices and so on. That's the bit most of our clients like to do. But they want the reassurance of having somebody there in the background that knows what they're doing, someone they can pick up the phone to or email and say, look, I've just got this query, haven't come across this before, how do we do it? What we normally offer for those kind of clients is a monthly review. So it's, you know, it might take us an hour, half an hour to do, but just review everything they've done. And that just, you know, gives them confidence that they're doing the right thing. We can pull them in the right direction if they're not going quite right. That then gives us a much better picture at the year end or quarterly for the VAT return, saves a lot of messing around and time, and gives confidence to the clients that they're doing the right thing. So I think, and again, it's that relationship, isn't it? Because we're talking to them and seeing them regularly or just emailing or whatever it is, we're involved in their business on a very regular basis. So it's just so much better for building relationships than that just once a year thing where you just look at things, look at the numbers, turn them into accounts, whiz them across to the client and tell them they've got to pay tax. You know, that's not a very lovely way of working, because the clients, you know, have got to pay your fees and they've got to pay the revenue. They don't see that as a positive thing. So if you can add some benefit by being there for them and having a chat to them and so on, that really helps.
And I think it's difficult enough running a business without waiting until the end of the year to be told that actually you should have been doing something differently. Or, you know, if you'd have done it this way, you'd have saved tax, or if you'd have done it that way, you'd have paid less VAT or something. But, you know, and I think that is one of the big points we get. We are starting to get some questions through, and I've been watching them come now. As we suggested before, there are still questions about furloughing, which is not technically what we're talking about today, but it's one of the subjects. So just looking here at something from Faye. I have a client with employer and employee aren't agreeing on the furlough pay. Commission is the issue. The employee has taken the average earnings over the 2019-20 as per HMRC update. The employer doesn't think it's fair to pay on commission based on a year ago. Any thoughts? Well, first of all, the two have got to agree or you can't be furloughed. Secondly, the government has said this is its measure, so I don't think, unless the employer has got some reason for thinking that the person would not have reached that level of commission this year, I think it should be paid that way. But it will be classed as revenue at some stage to the business. So if the employer is trying to save that, I can see where he's coming from. But I think the guidance was quite clear. So you average it out, and to begin with, at least, it's a furlough payment. The employer isn't going to be paying it. So I'm hoping that sorts it out for you, Faye. And re-cash flow, Sylvia B. and then nothing else. So I don't know what that means. No request for cash flow information at present, says Suzanne. So that's quite unusual. Katerina, hi Gary, we currently use Float for 2 of our clients, so we'd be interested to listen what they have to say. Weren't they supposed to be on today? Actually, they were, yes, but Float are a very difficult company. We do struggle with them a little bit, and they were due to come on, and then he decided that I think they wanted some sort of money for it. So we decided we don't do that sort of thing. And certainly, we always expect people who come on here and take advantage of our thousands of listeners to do some sort of instructional webinar at a later date. So this is all about thought leadership, unlike Nick Good got on here the other day and did a sell to everybody, which is not quite what we expected, but I think it was all right. We managed to cut him off in his prime. But then again, we do have quite regular webinars where people will show you a product and they'll do a demonstration. That's not what this particular program is about. So we're trying to sort out them at the moment. Yes, it links into Zero and updates every 24 hours. Yep, that's Katerina. That's good. Re-cash flow, and this is from Sylvia B. Sorry, you've obviously pressed the wrong button and given me the first half. So here's the next bit. Re-cash flow, we're sending gratis sample of current position and cash flow using a combination of Fathom and Float, spending about a day on each and providing it to clients with the hope that they might want it long-term and pay for it. Well, there's a good bit of business, yeah. Put everything out in the shop window and hope somebody wants to buy it, but that's great. And I'm almost sure your clients will really get great benefit in this and be very thankful for it. What do we got here? Oh yeah, it picks up reporting invoices and including that in the cash flow, which is a good feature, but it's not perfect, although one of the more cost-effective add-ons available. Okay, great. Well, there we are, everybody. And what software did you say you were using, Claire?
We're just using spreadsheets at the moment. I have looked at a couple of products. I think Float was one of them. The problem with those products is that they only seem to link into certain softwares. They'll only link to Xero or QuickBooks. They won't link to all the different products all our clients have. We don't just specialize, our practice doesn't just specialize in one bookkeeping product. So it's finding something that suits all products, really, is the problem I'm having. So yeah.
Are you all cloud-based now, or have you got desktop people still?
No, we still have desktop. We still have some of our clients who run like Sage systems or Chaos systems or whatever it is, depending on the industry as well. We've got some, I'll say, reasonable sized clients who have their whole internal sort of account system. They might have 4 or 5 people working on a network, which would be running Sage or Chaos or something. Sorry, it's Chaos Control, by the way, not Chaos. That's not the way we work. Well, some might say.
Yeah, never mind. Just Faye here saying that she still uses a spreadsheet as well. It's surprising how many people are still using spreadsheets when there is so much on offer, but I suppose a spreadsheet doesn't come with a monthly fee attached to it normally. Yeah. So that makes it
depends on the complexity of the business you're working with. Some businesses are terribly simple and you don't really need anything too complex, but certainly others where there's manufacturing involved or lots of products being purchased, that kind of thing, that can be problematic on the cash flow issues. So it would be nice to find one piece of software that we could use, I think, rather than lots of different ones. It'd be nice find something that fits with everything.
Yeah. I think most of them tend to get linked, and as you say, to one particular software or possibly 2. And then there's always, oh yes, well, we will work with them, but we're reaching an agreement, but not there yet, and all this sort of stuff. So you don't really want to jump. I mean, most software seems to start at about £49 a month, and anything up to £300 a month. So I think you've got to have it properly buttoned down before you make that sort of decision. It's a lot of money. And, but anyway. Where are we? Still Faye and Katerina vying for position here, but I can see most of that. That's good. And what is the actual date you can put in the claim for furloughing? Will there be an online form to complete? Yes, the online form we are told will be the 20th, which is next Monday. Although I did notice that the Chancellor yesterday did say on or around. So it may be that it's proving a little bit more problematical than they thought, but it should be the 20th. And I gather then that they are geared up to pay back pretty quickly. the list of things, the criteria I gave you yesterday, including things like you must have a bank account, it must be a UK bank account. So no use trying to send it off to Russia or somewhere, I suppose. Where are we? Calculating. I'm busy calculating the average of hourly paid staff whose hours are not static. Would I include the holiday pay they were paid into the calculation, or only the hours worked? It's a straightforward 52 weeks as far as I can understand it. That's gold accounting. I will put this one out to the gnomes, as I call them, who are sitting there busy working away trying to answer all your questions, and it will go up onto our hub, but that's as I understand it at the moment. And we've got Graham here who says currently have processed over a dozen cash flows, mainly for grants and loans, etc., using spreadsheets, and some banks, i.e. Santander, will send out pro forma spreadsheets. So yeah, that does happen a lot. I think I can see Claire nodding there as well. You get those quite often, don't you?
Yes, the pro formas do come out from the bank. They like it in their format, which doesn't always fit, I have to say, into our accounting format that we're producing accounts in. So there can be a bit of fiddling around with those sometimes. They can be a nuisance, but yeah, no, it can be helpful, of course.
I've got a question for you here, Claire, actually, from Pedro Silva, saying, hi, Claire. What's something that you would know now that you wish you knew when you first started? And what would you say to encourage someone who is considering going into bookkeeping as a business? Thank you, Pedro. Nice one.
Hello, Pedro. Thank you for that. There's so much I've learned. Honestly, I can't begin to tell you. One big thing at the moment I'm considering is I have quite an expensive office I rent and have done for the past 5 or 6 years. And it's lovely having an office as a hub with all my team coming and going from there, and it's a great place. However, it's also incredibly expensive, and since the sort of lockdown, we're all of us working from home now, and actually finding that actually it's not that difficult working from home. We can still work as a team. So I guess I wouldn't have perhaps signed up for quite such a long lease on my office if I'd have thought about it in advance, because actually coming out of this, I could see how we could probably continue working much more remotely and maybe have a much smaller office as a hub, I guess. But it's endless things I can think of. What was the other question? There were 2 questions, weren't there? Sorry, Gary, I'm waffling.
What would you say to encourage someone who's considering going into bookkeeping?
Oh, do it. Yeah, don't be afraid. Be confident. Go out there. It's a lovely career. It's a hugely rewarding career. It's really flexible. I meet so many bookkeepers that do their job in so many different ways. You know, some will be working for themselves at home, and that suits them fantastically. They work around their families, their children, and so on. And there's others like me who don't know when to say no and don't know when to stop and just keep building a business. And what I love now is running a business. I love bookkeeping, but I actually love running a business. I love all the people I work with, the people I meet. It's just you can take it where you want to go. It's a hugely flexible career, I would say. So yeah, go for it.
And it seems to suit lots and lots of different people. I mean, you're obviously quite shy, but it also it can appeal to everybody, can't it? I mean, we've got people who are perhaps a little more solitary. They like to have 1 or 2 clients, building up to 3 or 4 clients. That's enough for them. But then people like yourself, and we've got quite a few of our members now who are employing large numbers. We've got one practice that employs more than 50 bookkeepers. And yeah, I think it just, like you say, the running of the business is the bit that then becomes part of why you're doing it and how you're growing the business, why you're growing the business. But as an institute, I've always said this, but it's worth repeating, that if you are the sort of person that wants 5 clients and that's it at the moment, or that's it forever, we're here to support you. But if as you grow, you say, I like this, and you want to expand and you want to take on more people to work with you, you want to take on more competencies to offer to your clients, etc., we're there for you, and that's the important thing. So those of you who get as far as member, there is a fellowship available. If you go up and take the level 4, there's no pressure on us to do that. If you want to do it, it's available to you. It will allow you to do different things. It will allow you to do year-end accounts instead of just bringing up the trial balances and everything else. And I think that's important. There are so many different clients, as Claire's already said. Some of them only want somebody who adds up the invoices and gives them a few totals and tells them roughly what's going on. Others want a complete management accounting function. And they expect figures that they can put to a board, let's say. But a lot of our members will work with single individuals, self-employed people, everything from, you know, sort of window cleaners, taxi drivers, right the way through to small shops, retail outlets. And then again, some of our members have got clients who are running quite substantial businesses on a trading estate, 4 or 5 million pound turnover. But if you look at the way that British business is split up, small businesses and micro businesses are in the vast majority when it comes to numbers. You know, we've got about prior to all this, we had about 5.5 million businesses across the country, and about 5.5 million businesses across the country, and of those 5.4 million were actually small or micro businesses. So that is the big market, and that's why bookkeepers are very, very important now and in the future. I think whatever happens, whatever state we're in when we come out of this, we're only going to be in more demand, not in less. And we do tend to find that we have something like 75% of our members are women. Most of those are women returners. They have their family, and then they don't want to go back to their old job. They want something different. This sounds appealing to them, and yeah, it's a great move. And meanwhile, whilst you're running your business, Claire, you deal with things like getting remarried and everything. You know, I mean, life comes along anyway, doesn't it? You know, you have to build around it.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of working for yourself, I guess, isn't it? You can fit your life around your business, or your business around your life, whichever way you want. It depends what floats your boat, I guess. Yeah. It's a good career. It's got so many different ways you can go, and yeah. I've done so much in this time, just running my business. I mean, I know I started out when my son was really small. He was like, I split up with my husband, my first husband, when he was about 3, I think. And then I found myself in a position where I had to earn a living and bring up a son on my own and so on. So I used to work whenever he was at play school, or I used to work in the night time to get jobs done through the night, just when he was sleeping, that kind of thing. But it was hard, but it actually allowed me to have a flexible job around bringing my son up at that time. But then my bookkeeping career has evolved as my life has, and my son's now 28, moved out, so I'm now married again. Yeah.
Right. Well, it goes on, doesn't it? Another question here. Guess what? On furloughing, can a person be furloughed for 3 weeks and return to work to prepare payroll and submit payroll payments to employees for 1 day and then return to furlough? The furlough period has to be a minimum of 3 weeks. So technically, yes. I think it was anticipated that some people would work for 1 week, be furloughed for 3, and then have to work for another week. But I think it has to be done in such a way that when we come out of this at the end of it, you'll be able to put your hand on your heart and say that was necessary to keep the business floating. The furlough payments are there to keep it going. Yeah.
Can I just say that's what I've had to do that with a couple of my members of our team, because their particular clients that they're responsible for have, you know, closed their businesses or shut up shop temporarily. All there is to do is a few VAT returns or a bit of stuff at month end. So what we've done is they've agreed to furlough for 3 weeks. They're going to come back for a week at the end of the month to do the VAT returns and the bits and pieces that need doing then, and then they'll probably furlough for another 3 weeks. So, and it's worked for us. It works really well for our staff as well. They're quite happy with that that scenario. So yeah, you can do it. Yeah, it's fine. It's a good way of doing it.
Good. I've got somebody anonymous here. Obviously, I have been qualified for a long time now, but taking the next step, I am getting caught up in deciding on software and how much to spend. If lots of companies are using different software, do we have to learn them all, and how does this work for cost? How did you start? I mean, you started on Sage, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, that's all those years ago. That's about all that was there. I mean, QuickBooks was a pretty awful product in those days, so we stuck away from it, and online digital software wasn't around. It wasn't a thing. So Sage was what I learned when it was DOS, to be honest. So I kind of grew up with Sage, and it's what I knew, it's what I loved. I still do use it quite a lot. It, you know, hasn't quite got the online capability, digital capability of some of the other products, but I still do use a lot of it, and so do my clients. what I will say is that, no, you don't have to rush off and learn everything. It's entirely up to you. That's what we were saying about the flexibility of being a bookkeeper. You choose what you like to use. If you like QuickBooks, then why not just stick to that? You don't feel under pressure to have to learn everything, because, you know, you can't. Why would you want to do that? You can just work with clients that have QuickBooks if you want. And then later on, once you're comfortable with that, then move on to another product if that, you know, it's not working for you. But just take it in, manage it so in a way that you can cope with it. You don't want to overwhelm yourself with trying to learn too much too soon.
And I think the other thing, the other sort of advice that I give is, don't be persuaded to buy 100 licenses so that you get a platinum badge instead of a gold badge or something or other, because that's a nonsense. You don't know whether you're ever going to use them, and the difference in colour of the badges is something that, you know, bookkeepers have between themselves, really. I doubt if many clients think, oh, I only want a platinum 0 person or whoever it is. And you know, don't go mad. But if you think about it, bookkeeping is one of the easiest businesses to set up. It's one of the cheapest businesses. If you've got a laptop and a piece of software in there, you're virtually away. And you can get your name around quite quickly without having to pay lots of money to advertise in centres or wherever. Most of the I say most of the people who started in business with having got their qualifications through ICB have picked up clients along the way through the free service that we offer, the job finder service. You know, you either put your name up there and say you're looking for a job, or we do get a lot of clients coming in there. You know, lots of our members are saying, well, I just got my first one and they're still with me, but now I've got more and I've changed. You're going to be learning on the job, whatever you do. And, you know, it's like when you learn to drive a car. You go out in the car by yourself for the first time, and it looks completely different to when you were sitting there with the instructor next to you. And you'll find that when you get out there. But it's not scary. It's just it's a change. It's more exciting.
Can I just say also, use your branch network. Branch networks are great for cross referral. Certainly within our branch, we have an awful lot of members who maybe just use Xero or just use QuickBooks and so on, and they cross refer, or they just find their books are full, they can't take on any more clients, and then they'll pass that referral on to other members of the group. So you'll also learn a lot about how to set up in business. You know, there's always someone in a local branch that will tell you how it worked for them, how they set up in business, how they get new clients. That's a really, really important thing, I would say, as well. So use the ICB. There's lots of opportunity there, and we are in competition, but we don't act like we're in competition. Most of us work very, very closely together. So use that support, I would say.
Yeah, there are lots of points of contact within ICB. I think they're growing, and this is just one of them, but where you can ask questions. But we're providing all sorts of things. I mean, the Inspire tour that's coming up shortly, it's the first time we've done that as a virtual tour. In the past, we've gone from city to city, and we've had really good audiences. We've had some great fun. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. We get, I think, the rating last year across the entire 22 city conference program was something like 99.3, 99.4%, which I think is pretty good. I'm certainly very proud of that. People went away thinking they'd learned something, or at least they'd met people that they'd never met before, and they felt part of our community, and that's great. And our conference, I mean, a couple of our speakers get 100% rating from the people that go there. Everybody thinks they're wonderful. Ian Holloway, for example, who came along, was one of my guests on here. I think he got way up into the high 90s. Claire, again, up into the high 90s. I get about 15%, but that's beside the point. I mean, the thing is that we're doing this for you as bookkeepers. We're here to do whatever it is you need to make you better at what you do, because we want you to be the best, because then your reputation will spread, and by doing that, our reputation will spread as an institute, and it's this wonderful, what I call a quality circle. You know, we all get to know things. I get some very strange messages here on the chat line, which is coming through from the Facebook page. I think I've got lots of messages, then an apology that ignore all of that. The pasting isn't working, so I'm not quite sure. I think that's probably Sobe that's struggling a little bit at the moment. So I'll, if you see me stretching across, I'm closing that down and going back to the standard questions that we have here. Right, what have I got in here? the actual thing? Claim referring. Am I busy? Yeah. Again, I think a couple of people wanted to ask very similar questions about what got you started. Fine, thank you. What has been your most enjoyable result of being in business for yourself, Claire? What would you say?
Oh, do you know what? For me, it's the people I meet and it's the people I work with. It's building those relationships. I absolutely, for my staff and for Team 4, I have an absolutely fantastic group of staff that work for me. We are, you know, we see each other outside of work. We're really good buddies as well as, you know, work colleagues, and I love that, building that team. It's been a really key thing to the enjoyment of what I do. And my staff obviously are a huge support to the business. I mean, without them, you know, I wouldn't be anywhere. But also my clients, you know, I mean, I'm going back to when I first set up 20 odd years ago. I have still got at least 3 clients I can think of that I still look after, that still work for their businesses. And, you know, they've become like old friends. I go to their children's christenings. I've been to weddings, you know, we're part of the family. So, and the ICB too, saying that, you know, we know each other, Gary, don't we? I mean, you know, I can walk in.
We do. We didn't come to the wedding, but we're okay.
You weren't invited. But yeah, I would have loved to brought all the ICB along to my wedding, but I couldn't quite afford that. There's not enough champagne for that. No. But yeah, it's the relationships I've built, the people I've met. It's such a lovely industry to work in from that perspective. Really, really nice. I like that for me.
And, you know, I have to say thank you, because you actually put a lot back into the institute as well. I mean, you've been a branch chair for a long time now. You're thinking of taking on another county, or at least somebody persuaded me that you were going to. So if not, I've just committed to you that live on air. You joined council and you take an active role in that. And, you know, it is good that people like you who are really, really busy and have got successful businesses can come back into ICB and help, because it's a good role model, I think, and this is the point. And it just, I think, shows what is accessible and what is achievable. Because it's all very well me sitting here saying that, you know, oh yeah, everybody's having a wonderful time. But when you say it, you're doing it. You're actually there at the chalk face. So it's far more believable, I think, which is the point. Also,
I will say that when I was a young, impressionable, newly qualified bookkeeper, I have to say I was incredibly shy. And being involved in all of the things I have done with the ICB, and I mean, standing up, the first time I ever stood up in front of a group of people to make a presentation, I didn't know, I was just so nervous. I mean, I still remember my first branch meeting, chairing that. I didn't know what to expect, and when 30 people turned up, I nearly fell through the floor. I was absolutely terrified. But I've grown, you know, and developed personally in all of this as well. So it's allowed me to do that, which is quite, you know, it's
yeah. I mean, we've got we've got about 36, 37 active branches at the moment. That was prior to the lockdown and everything else. Most of those are now converting to virtual meetings. We also have a few vacancies along, particularly I mentioned yesterday, the northwest coast, that area from Cheshire to Lancashire to Cumbria, where we had a couple of people there who've actually retired. One has gone into full-time employment, so no longer in business, and feels that she has to be committed to that business. So if any of you are from that area and you think, look, I'd like to do something like this, now is actually a good time to do it, because with it being virtual, they can't get at you quite as easily as if they're all sitting in a room facing you. And I think it's more of a shared content. So if anybody is interested, let me know. And as far as the council is concerned, the council is completely comprised members who are, well, they're elected or invited to join the council. And we try to get 2 members from each of our 14 regions. So technically there's 28. I think at the moment we're running at about 22. So some of the areas we've only got 1. But I think it's a good way for us as an institute to reach out to the regions, reach out to the far corners of the country, and just see what's going on up there. And we've got some people coming on to this program next week. We're just figuring out days, etc. But we've certainly got somebody from Scotland, some people from Wales, somebody from Northern Ireland as well. because Northern Ireland is still a very important part of the UK ICB operation. And we've got another operation at the bottom half of Ireland as well, in the Republic. So we've got a lot going on there. And in fact, we're in 134 countries around the world. So we were talking, Claire was talking earlier about she's got family around the world. And, you know, I like to think so have I, but most of them I'm not really related to. They're all friends and people that we've got to know through bookkeeping. So Australia, New Zealand, the Philippines, the whole of Eastern Europe. Anybody that comes into our offices, in the corner of the office, I've got a rather strange looking Cossack uniform, which is something that they made me dress in when I went across to the Ukraine, and made me drink copious amounts of vodka, which is not my normal tipple. But anyway, so those people, and we communicate on a regular basis, and we've been using Zoom meetings for quite some time now, because we have global sort of board meetings, get-togethers. So it tends to be 10 o'clock our time, 10 o'clock at night, and Australia are just getting up. New Zealand have been up for an hour or so. Russia's been up for 2 or 3 hours. So a lot goes on, and it's you know, I find this communication is very useful. Now that we're using it to get in touch with our own members, it's fantastic. But I think we've got a few more furlough questions here. I'm not sure I can answer all of them. Okay. Yeah, the furloughing of holidays. This is a difficult one, and we are seeking some guidance on this. At the moment, if somebody is being furloughed, they're not furloughed during their holiday. So they hang on, they are furloughed, but it means they are accruing holiday. Now, I think this is going to cause a major problem at the end of this, because if you've got 10 staff, come the end of this year, and you've got another sort of 20 weeks of holiday to cram in somewhere, I think it's going to be difficult. But that's the way I read it too. So Helen, I think you and I are in agreement on that. But
Gary, I was under the impression that we could spread the any accrued holiday over the next 2 years rather than having it all this year.
You can do, but it's down to agreement, I think, you know, so you've got to make that agreement. But even spreading that over 2 years, I mean, that's another 2 or 3 weeks added into, you know, people get far too much holidays these days. I'm only joking about that, so don't please go mad. Pedro Silva, thank you both for the webinar. I need to leave now. Goodbye, Pedro. It was really nice to have you with us again.
Goodbye, Pedro. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. I think people have to jump, don't they? And what we're hearing from our members, from our students and some of our members at the moment, is this has given them the impetus to jump. Because whilst they've been furloughed, or whilst their company is closed down or whatever, they've had a little bit more time to study, and they're rapidly rushing through their study. And mentioning the fact to people they know that they're going to become bookkeepers, people are starting to say, oh, well, I need a bookkeeper. So I think we're going to see a lot of new practices setting up, and touch wood, I'm hoping we don't lose any, but you know, time will tell. I must admit, at the moment, we haven't heard from any of our members who have actually got coronavirus, either in its mildest forms or otherwise. Oh, you have?
One of my staff has, yeah. She's only a mild form, but she has, yeah. It's over the last week, it seems to have hit our area a little bit. A few care homes are reporting it, but yeah, one of my members of staff has got it, so we've locked her away.
Yeah, okay. Oh, well, I think we've had one who we weren't quite sure whether they had got it or not, and we haven't heard whether it turned out to be coronavirus or something else, you know, but I think everybody panics at the moment, whatever they get, that it is the coronavirus. I mean, it is nasty stuff, and, you know, it's frightening, really. We're all waiting with bated breath to see if somebody tells us that we can all come out of lockdown. I think when it happens, we might well stay in lockdown for a couple of extra weeks just to make sure there isn't a bounce, because I think it's worrying that people are starting to move around a little bit more freely, and you know, sometimes it's difficult to stay far enough away from people. But so you're out in the country, so it's presumably a bit better out there. You don't see many people anyway, do you?
No. I choose not to see people, of course. No, we live in East Sussex, which is incredibly rural here. We are really lucky, because actually we've been going out some lovely walks, and I can literally walk out of my front door across fields and woodlands and go for hours and not actually see another soul. So for us, it's been lovely. And of course, until, you know, the last few days, I didn't really feel like coronavirus touch dust here in this little sleepy part of the world. But yeah, obviously with the news that my staff member has it, and a few local care homes and so on, I think doctor's surgery has a couple of the girls there have got it now. So it's obviously,
actually,
reaching
I've
us.
just had a note from Carol Gibson from Devon just to say that Devon branch is a member with severe coronavirus. So sorry to hear that, Carol. I hope the member gets better. Please keep us in touch with that. That's the first one I've heard. So perhaps it's because I haven't asked a question before. So yeah, but if anybody does know of anybody that's not very well, please let us know. We will, we want to know what's happening out there. Avril James just saying, I'm a student about to take my second level 2 exam. Well, good luck with that, Avril. I don't know what went wrong with your first level 2. Oh no, you mean you're doing the A2. So that's great. A1, A2 and A3. That's the grounding. That's where it all starts. That's where you get to understand what on earth it is that we call double entry and everything else, and how it all works and what it all means. And then the next level, the level 3, that's where you add meat to the bones. So good luck with that. I'm not saying who you're studying with, but I presume you're with one of our brilliant training providers. Now, somebody here saying the Horsham branch closed, but does not seem to be an alternative on the western side of West Sussex. Or is there? Yes.
Yes. Yes. Hello, West Sussex. I am going to creep across the border. Apparently, I've been talking to the girls, to Kerry here at ICB, about maybe certainly starting the virtual group at the moment. So I'll be looking to do that hopefully within the next few weeks, so next 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah. So I'll be talking to the girls to get that set up. So hopefully West Sussex will have some representation, and I shall be looking for someone to take on the permanent role of chairman or chairperson.
I've noticed actually that there's a big meeting tonight in Surrey, and we've got a lot of people from on the fringes of Sussex who are going to that. Obviously, they don't have to travel very far. It's virtual, so it has helped. But yeah, they've gone over 50 members tonight, which is good. So how many did you get to yours? Was it 39, something like that?
Do you know, I'm not sure. I don't think we actually had that many, and I don't know whether there was a technical problem, but we had over 30 booked, but only about 15 or 16 attended. So I don't know. It was one of the early ones, so I'm not quite sure whether there were issues with people not understanding how to use Zoom or anything, but we're going to try another one, I think maybe in a week's time or so. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, we certainly get more interest in the virtual ones, and we're getting new people coming on board that we've never had actually come to physical meetings, which is great. It just means, that we're able to reach more members, because physical meetings aren't always easy for people to get to. Times of day are a problem, venues a problem, and so on and so on. So yeah, virtual meetings are great, and it's great if we can, when we go back, whether we can do a mixture of both going forward. Some virtual meetings and some actual meetings.
I mean, the Horsham branch, that was Gina Westwell, wasn't it? And unfortunately, Gina has got other things to do with her time at the moment, but we missed those meetings. They were great meetings. They were very well attended, and that went well. But anyway,
no pressure
Gina,
then.
missing you loads, and great to know you're still with us. Gold accounting, you've just asked something there which is very technical on the furloughing. I will get that question put through to one of our advisors, and I'll get them to contact you with that on the actual percentage, because I don't want to give you a bit of information off the top of my head and not quite sure if it's right. Avril James, I have done bookkeeping before anyway, just not got a qualification. I'm now with Training Link. Yep, Avril, that is brilliant. Training Link are fantastic. They are our multi-award winning training provider. I think they've got best training provider of the year for 10 years on the trot or something or other. Yeah, they win a Luca virtually every year for that. So
my newest member of staff has just finished her first part of exams. She sailed through them with Training Link, so she's chuffed to bits, and so are we for her. So yeah, we'll be looking to get her onto the next stage, get her fully qualified.
Ah, that's great. I mean, we do have a lot of people who approach us like Avril that have been bookkeeping for years, or qualified by experience, as it always used to be known. And yeah, we don't just let anybody come in, as you've noticed. We therefore make everybody do some sort of test, full set of qualifications normally. But it's there for a reason, because you're going out standing shoulder to shoulder with people like Claire that have been through the whole raft of examinations, and they're qualified, and they certainly wouldn't want us letting people in with anything less of a qualification. And you'll at least know that when you finished all this, you're not just a bookkeeper, you're an ICB bookkeeper, you're part of the family, you're part of our network, and you're joining a fantastic group. So yeah, well done you. And Helen says, hooray. Hooray, Helen, back to you. Okay. And a smiley face. Right, I don't know if you've got anything you need to talk about at the moment, Claire. I mean, is there anything that's taking up your time at the moment that you want to share with everybody?
Oh, goodness me. Well, what's taking up my time mostly is my daily battle with my printer and my scanner, actually working from home, trying to get the equipment to work here. That's my aggravation at the minute. Yeah. There's tons of stuff going on. I mean, I really, I suppose from my perspective, I wanted to talk about, you know, communication and how we deal with our clients and stuff. And it is all about communication. I know the guys were talking about it yesterday, but if you want to keep clients, if you want to find new clients, or just communicate with people, it doesn't matter even if they're not work prospects. Talk to your local business community, get involved, because also a lot of the networking groups now locally are all going online, doing these kind of meetings, and they're just, it's kind of easier thing to join these like this, doing it virtually, than it is in person. If you're, you know, anxious about going into a room full of people you don't know, this is a fantastic way of doing it. So there's lots you can do still from your desk at home. I know we'd all rather be swimming with dolphins in the Caribbean somewhere, I'm sure, but we can make use of our time here at home. Yeah, making contacts, actually upskilling as well is something I've been doing. I have just taken the Pro Advisor QuickBooks course, which I hadn't done previously. I know some of my staff use QuickBooks, that I haven't. So quick upskilling is a really good thing to do. So there's tons of software like the cash flow software products. I'm also getting Accountancy Manager set up for my practice while in this downtime when I'm not working on client work. So there's an awful lot you can do to improve your prospects when you go back, because I think when we go back to work again, people will be desperate to be running their businesses again. The world will want to be spending their money. So us bookkeepers are going to be high demand. So I think we're going to have a busy time of it.
I've just been corrected by Helen. She says, I mean, hooray, we're a new branch in West Sussex.
Oh,
right. Very much.
Good.
You're
Good. I better get it organised then, hadn't I?
Yeah, exactly. This is great. That's fantastic. I mean, I always think that our bookkeepers, the ones that come to all our meetings and come to branches and come to summits and everything else, the one thing they all have is this what is it? They want to be in control. But it seems to work very well. You know, they look after the businesses who are normally pretty bad at doing books, pretty bad at putting things. You know, all they want to do really is get hold of it, shake it up and get it working right, which is absolutely fantastic, which is really what they need to do. But that's great. And so I suppose really that's probably about it for today. We need to get off and do some work, but thank you all, everybody, for being online. And Claire, thanks for coming on. It's always great to talk to you, and as I say, thank you very much for all you do for us as ICB. And if there's anybody out there that wants us to do even more, just please let us know. You know, we don't sit here and say, no, this is the way we've always done it. We will work with you, and we'll discuss things at council quite often. But if there's anything out there that you need, anything that you think you want us to add a bit of meat on the bones to, or anything like that. And just to remind you, tomorrow we've got Julia Wedgwood back with us. Now, she is working, obviously, training people how to produce the payrolls for the new furloughed amounts that are going to go through this wonderful new system, which we believe government is going to be giving us next Monday. So I'm hoping she's learnt a bit more now since she was last with us, and she's going to be ready to give us all that information. So that'll be great. Please let us know. Just send us an email what software it is you're using, and whether you think it's good, bad, or indifferent, because you know, we're working with various software companies and cash flow providers. Cash flow, again, we need to know. We won't send you out the annual questionnaire at the moment, because I think we're bombarding you already with a lot of information. And everything that we discuss on here is repeated for you on Facebook. So if you want to go onto Facebook, you go onto the download stage there, and you can see this all again if you want to, or better still, give it to one of your members of staff and tell them they've got to listen to it as well, use it as part of the training. You can claim this as unstructured CPD, so it's really is a part of you learning more and getting everything right. And please remember, we've got two big things coming up. We're still going to be doing a conference this year at the moment, subject to the end of lockdown, but that's in late mid-November. That's all available there. But the first thing that happens is the end of this month, we've got the Inspire Tour. Now, that's not like this. This is different. It is far more instructional. The first day is going to be taken up all about money laundering. But rather than us just sit here and tell you all about the legislation, et cetera, and preach to you, it's a very practical thing about how exactly do you get to know your client? What is it you want to do? How do you fill in the AML online? What is it that we're looking for? What is it you should be looking for? So those of you who've been doing it for some time, it'll be a useful refresher. Those of you who are about to start or are still relatively new to this, it may be your first very practical exercise in learning what you need to do. Then later in the week, we've got various things coming on. If you go onto the website, it's on there. You can now book. I think we're up to, so far, we've got over 150 people all booked in for that. Now, that one is a paid series. That's £45, but that gives you the 3 days. You can pop in, pop out. You can download it. You can hang on to that ad infinitum and keep it and refer back to it whenever. And I'm very pleased to say that we have also got a sponsor on that, which has been a great help. That, as in the past, actually, we've always had sponsors. We did think that they might disappear with them not being able to physically stand in front of you and talk, but not the case. So that will be coming along, and I think that's probably about it for today. I hope you've enjoyed our time. Big thanks again to Claire. Thank you to Sobi for being our anchor today, and goodbye. And we hope to see you very soon. Bye.
Bye.